Hi. So like she said, I live in Berlin. I'm very interested in data analytics and I also contribute to Fedora. I'm a part of the Fedora Community Operations Team and Fedora Diversity Team. So this talk is going to be about how we are using data analytics to understand the community in Fedora. So that's mostly about me. You can connect with me on Twitter or on LinkedIn, and that is my blog. So all the work I do in Fedora about data analytics, I post it on blog. So you can read it there. And this is a quick overview for the talk. So I'll be talking a bit about what is Community Operations Team, what we do there, and the tools we are building to understand the community, and how we are using them. And I also have some links if you're interested in contributing to Fedora in this sort of stuff. So community operations, or CommOps, is basically about building community-oriented architecture for Fedora. So we sort of do all the things that we don't want the Fedora community to take burden of, like we help with organizing Fedora elections, or we compile metrics for the community, and we also have a community blog where we post about what's happening in different teams of Fedora. So CommOps is basically involved in all this sort of stuff, and that's the link for our group if you want to join. So in CommOps, I basically work on data analytics because I love data. I mean, I don't know, I love finding stories in data. So these are some tools which we are building, and some of these are a work in progress, especially the last one. And I have built one of these, and one of these was a Google Summer of Code project. So maybe I'll just give a quick overview about the tools I'm going to cover here. So GSOC Stats is the Google Summer of Code project, and it is a tool for activity graphs. So if you just give the name of the contributor, you can get what areas he contributes in, and his activity, and how much he has contributed in, say, a particular time frame, and all the distribution. Then the second one is longtail. So in Fedora Community Operations, we are also trying to improve the contributor retention rates. So what we saw was that many contributors join the project, and then within the first 3 months, about 50% of them drop out. So that's a pretty sad statistic. I mean, they join the project, they actually contribute, and then maybe because they don't get any help or whatever, because of varied reasons, they drop out and don't come back. So we want to reduce that number, and that's why we are trying to do some analytics and find what helps in improving the contributor activity, what are the patterns and activities of successful contributors, or say those who stay longer, what did they do in the beginning, so that we can also help other people to suggest that maybe you can also do this. And so longtail is basically a tool to measure the burnout rate for every user. Then the third one is event activity. This is a tool to understand the impact of attending an event or a conference on an individual and also on the organization, say Fedora. So in this tool, what we do is if we know a contributor has attended a particular event, we try to see if the activity has increased or decreased after attending that event, and what happens usually, how the event impacted the contributor, and also how did what happened with Fedora after it went to a particular conference? Did it gain new contributors? Did they stay for a long time, and so on? And the fourth tool is Wiki redundancy. This is the tool I'm working on right now. So I'm using, like I said, I'm interested in data analytics and machine learning. So in this tool, I'm using NLP, natural language processing, to basically identify redundant pages in Fedora Wiki. So Fedora Wiki is a huge database about all sort of content about Fedora. Say the initiatives we have going on, different teams, and even user profile pages. So since it is very big, there are some old initiatives. The information is like not updated in some cases, or there are similar pages in many categories which have the same redundant information. So this tool is about identifying those pages so that contributors can work on merging them, and it just to help them make wiki gardening tasks easier. So you can find these tools and most of the other tools we are using in CommOps in the CommOps toolbox, and that is the link to the toolbox. So all these tools need some sort of data, right? So where do we get this data from? So these tools get all the data from fedmsg. So has anyone heard of fedmsg before here? Yeah. So for those who don't know what is fedmsg, fedmsg is basically Python API. It is basically a message bus for Fedora infrastructure, and it sends and receives messages from all applications in Fedora. So there are different topics in fedmsg bus, like we have Fedora badges, we have mailman. So mailman will be about all the mail activity on mailing lists. So suppose if you send a mail to a Fedora project list, then fedmsg will push out a message that mailman.receive, it received this message from this contributor, and so on. So there are different topics. You have messages about FAS accounts, Fedora badges, mailman, Fedora wiki, track, and different applications like fedocal, Fedora tagger in fedmsg. So if you are interested, you can read about the docs and more info about the topics there. So this is basically what some of the messages look like. And this is about copper and and builds. It's not really clear, but okay. And we also have datagrepper. So datagrepper is a JSON API built on top of fedmsg. So you can query about the activity of users. So like this was a query about me and my activity. So it was high at some points, and then it dropped, but then it again became high. So yay me, I joined back. Anyway, so with datagrepper, you can basically query the fed messages and get statistics about a particular user or about a particular category in a particular time frame, and so on. But those statistics are pretty elementary. So all you can see is such graphs, and I mean, whether the activity jumped or went down. That's all you can understand from them. So we are trying to build some more tools. So this is the first one I want to talk about, the Google Summer of Code project. It is for analyzing the activity distribution of users. So and you can also use it for groups and categories. So what you do is, like, if you give say a particular user as an argument, you can get his activity distribution of what he has contributed, say in a particular time frame. So this is the activity distribution for Ralph, and as you can see, like, he has a lot of GitHub commits and GitHub messages, and also for builds. So you can say that he's a developer and he's working on these areas. And we also have this sort of charts and distributions for groups and, say, for categories, like what sort of messages are getting pushed more in that category or not. So such type of graphs are basically useful for us and in finding patterns in activity, and also because in other two projects we use them. So like I said, we are working on improving contributor retention rates in Fedora community. So it's important there to understand, like, where you were contributing, in which sort of team, and then why you left, like how it degenerated. So this is about the other tool, like I explained it before. So maybe I'll show you the graph first. So I did a quick analysis of the impact of attending FOSSDEM on the contributors. So about, say, 70 Fedora contributors attended FOSSDEM 2015. And during FOSSDEM, we also onboarded 12 or 13 new contributors. You can find the exact stats on my blog post. I have added the link. So you can see here that, so the blue ones are pre-FOSSDEM activities, and the orange ones are post-FOSSDEM. And and I have categorized them into buckets, actually, based on the activity. So you can see that a lot of people's activity increased post-FOSSDEM, and this is for long term. This is not just for short term. So for short term, maybe you can say that the activity increased maybe because they were in FOSSDEM for a while and they suddenly wanted to contribute or whatever. But the impact actually stays for long term. So so the event activity tool helps us find these sort of graphs and activities before and after an event. So it's really cool. The other tool is longtail. It's about measuring the approximate ratio of activity to user to approximate burnout. So basically, what it does is that we try to plot the message distributions of all the users, and then if it is flat, then you can say that there is almost equal burnout rate amongst all contributors. And this graph is the statistics I was talking to you about, that about 50% of people who join drop out in first 3 months. So this is the sort of work this tool is trying to help with. And then this is the last tool, which I'm currently working on. It is for wiki gardening tasks. So I'm using NLP to basically identify pages which have redundant information. So I can give them a starting point, say a particular category, and then it identifies pages in that particular category with all redundant information. So it splits out say, the page URLs. So the contributors can then merge those 2 pages which have similar information, or so on. But this is still a work in progress. And there are also some pretty interactive and fun tools in our toolbox. So word cloud bot is a tool which creates word clouds from IRC meeting logs. So you can get some pretty interesting word clouds and see what was discussed more. And we also have course visualizations of how contributors interact in the community. So you can find the videos for them in the blog post, which I have written on community blog. And that's about it. There are some more tools which you can check out in the CommOps toolbox, and I have added all the links. So if you are interested, you can check them out, try them out, and give feedback. StatsCache is another project which is currently, there has been a lot of work on StatsCache, but it is not, it still needs some more works, basically. So datagrepper is like a JSON API built on top of fedmsg, but if we build tools on top of datagrepper, they are a huge load on the datagrepper system, and it is too slow for us. So StatsCache is basically a plugin to fedmsg hub, and it listens to all messages, and then it stores the new messages which arrive to the plugin. So if you want to collect some sort of statistics, say how many contributors contributed to a particular area or category, then you write a new plugin for that in StatsCache, and it will store it. So that is it. That is what Fedora Infra people are currently working on. And if you're interested, you can contribute to that. So there are links if you want to contribute to Fedora Infra or Fedora CommOps here. It's pretty easy to join CommOps. You can just send a mail on the mailing list, and someone will be sure to message you about how you can help or you can just join IRC. And that is the wiki page for infrastructure group to get started. So that's it. Do you have any questions?
We don't have any questions on Slido, but maybe you want to raise your hand and ask something?
How easy or hard is it to act upon your data when you find something?
What?
How easy it is to act upon your data? Like you find something and would like to make things better, so helps the data actually somehow.
So you mean analyze the data for?
When you get some analytic data and you see there is some problem maybe in the community, and does it help you to fix it?
So I mean, we are trying to fix it in CommOps, but it will definitely take time. So there is another conference called Flock for Fedora contributors and users. So I gave a talk about how to improve contributor retention rates in depth about what I analyzed and what I found there. So there were also a lot of good suggestions there about sending surveys and how to improve it. So maybe we are trying to work on it, but it will take time but first we need some concrete facts, right? So we are using data to collect those facts that maybe this is the problem. It is actually so huge, and maybe if we work on this area, it will help to solve the problem. So that's what we are trying to do with data in CommOps, basically.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
There was the plot, and there were some bins. So what was these bins when there was less than 100, 100 to 1,000? I just don't understand. Please on
this?
Yes.
So this is basically the activity of contributors. So 100 is basically the number of messages they sent on Fed message. So I'm trying to group them according to their activity. So 100 is like, this is over a particular time frame. So for long term, it was 1 year. So they sent less than 100 messages over 1 year. And that is pretty low according to Fed message, because even if you just say collect a Fedora badge or update your FOSS account, you get 1 message. Or even if you attend an IRC meeting, at least you have some messages. So 100 is pretty low, and 5,000 is very high. So a lot of contributors jumped into the very high category, and I have not really discussed how they have jumped from which category, but most of them were from the moderate category, which jumped into the higher category, and people just moved buckets, basically.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't finished it, But any more questions? Or have we finished? I'm sure you can talk later as well.
Yeah. So you can connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn, or you can just catch me at the Fedora booth. I will be there, and we can talk further.
Do you still have the Fedora tattoos?
I don't have one. Miro has one, and we have many of them at the booth if you are interested in getting a Fedora tattoo. And we also have some T-shirt and caps if you want them. So come to the booth.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah.